And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Works podcast. I'm Keith Williams, your host. Hope everyone is doing okay today. Our scheduled guest today is Doug Lawrence. I understand that you wear a lot of hats, so we're going to be talking about that today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
So first of all, tell everybody who is Doug Lawrence.
Okay, so Doug Lawrence is a retired Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, having served for 25 years in the police force. As a result of my service, I ended up with post-traumatic stress and have been dealing with that since then. I started in 2000 and I retired in 98, 99 and started my own business in 2009. And it was a business focused purely on mentoring. So mentor certification and then basically all things mentoring. And I've been doing that since 2009.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police is that like a national police force?
Yeah, yes, it is. We're actually, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are typically associated with the police officers in the fancy red tunics that they wear for ceremonial dress, but also for our Royal Canadian Mounted Police musical ride that tours all over the world, putting on demonstrations of horsemanship and teamwork and all those sorts of things, utilizing the horses. So it is a national, actually an internationally recognized police force.
I don't think we have anything like that in the United States. Are you still living in Canada or are you in United States?
No, I'm still here in a community or a city called Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. So we're in what they call the Prairie Provinces, where it's the heart of the grain belt for the country.
I mean, I heard a lot about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but we definitely don't have anything like that here in the United States, of course. There is like no national police force. So I was just kind of interested as to what type of activities they do.
Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is it like is it military or non-military, like the armed forces?
No, it would be, it would definitely not be like the armed forces, the military part. It is because it's a national, so it's the police force for all of Canada. So there are some locations that have their own police force, like larger centers, like Vancouver, British Columbia has Vancouver Police Department. But where we typically, provincial jurisdictions will contract the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to provide policing services for their jurisdiction. So there'll be like we have a presence in the city of Richmond in British Columbia. We have a presence in Ontario, but more so from a federal law enforcement perspective versus provincial law enforcement. And so they deal with things that would be federal in nature, criminal code, drug enforcement, the Excise Act and stuff like that. So yeah, you're right. You don't have anything quite like that in the US.
Most of your work in recent years surrounding mentorship. So is this an actual business or is it a nonprofit?
It's an actual business. I'd I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. It is a business, but I do a lot of pro bono nonprofit work. My mantra that I stand beside is that I won't, if money becomes the reason that stands between us getting a person the help that they need, then let's take the money off the table and we'll figure that out at a later time. The primary concern that I have is making sure that individuals, as I describe it, is I won't leave you on the island by yourself.
According to your profile, you are a founder of TalentC and co-founder of the International Mentor Community.
Correct.
Okay. Um, so what roles do you play in those two organizations?
So the TalentC is my own personal company focused on mentoring. So I am the president of that organization. I'm the sole proprietor of that organization. I am co-founder of the International Mentoring Community. I have a business partner, Dr. Stephen Hobbs, who is in Calgary, Alberta. And my role, the
I'm not sure what
of
happened.
practice and a director of practice and outreach for the international mentoring community.
So what type of services do you offer?
For the TalentC portion or for the international mentoring community? Or both?
Both.
So I'll start first with TalentC, my own personal company. So I do lots of work involving the setting up or implementing a mentoring program within an organization. So I work with the organization and some of their key individuals to establish sort of the business reason for implementing mentoring in their organization. I also do lots of one-on-one. I'm a volunteer mentor with the Sir Richard Branson entrepreneur program in the Caribbean. So I mentor young entrepreneurs who are wanting to start a business in the Caribbean. I also work with the American corporate partners in the United States to help them transition service people from service life to civilian life. And I work with an organization called Futurepreneur here in Canada, where I provide mentorship to young entrepreneurs to help them in moving forward with their vision of the business that they would like to get started. And we provide mentorship to them as part of the Futurepreneur package that they offer. And then I do lots of my own mentoring by referral, where people are referred to me to maybe to work with them to see how I can help them grow personally and professionally. I also have a service that is fairly unique in that what it is I call it termination versus mentoring. What that basically is if an organization is looking at terminating an employee, let me spend 5 one-hour sessions with them. And in most cases, I can typically generate or create a behavioral change that will get that employee back on track and help them become that meaningful contributor to the organization.
And you do most of your work in Canada or the United States, or both?
Both, and internationally as well, because the work I do with the Branson program is out of the Caribbean, so it's international.
So what is if someone was to partake of this service, what's the cost to get into that type of program?
most of those programs that I just mentioned are free. They're provided by organizations. Like the Branson program is, for people in the Caribbean who are wanting to start a business and get moving forward with that. There is no cost for that. The American corporate partners, I'm not aware that they of any charges or any fees, because it's to be able to help provide support to people that have served their country. So I'm fairly confident in saying that there are no charges to them for getting involved from a mentorship perspective. With Futurepreneur, there is the mentoring is associated with a business grant, we'll call it. So they apply, and as part of their application process, the organization will provide so much seed money to help them get started, but the seed money has to be paid back over a period of time, but it also requires that they partake in the mentorship program as well. So it works out that way quite nicely.
So you also have a lot of credentials in the mentoring mentorship category, but I'm like really intrigued on this one. Just a second, just a second why I find it. Um, yeah, this one is kind of intrigued me. Is a certificate of competence mentor. What's that? I never heard of that before.
No, and that's probably part of the reason is that or not today, but right now that the international mentoring community is the only place that offers a certification process for mentors. There's the International Coaching Federation is there to provide certification for coaches and that, but there is no place that you can go to until we put this into practice or into place. There was no place you could go to be able to become certified as a mentor, and even more so to be certified competent as a mentor. So and what that involves is there's a number of steps you have to go through, but basically what you end up doing is you build a portfolio which has a number of documents that you have to bring together, one of which that is crucial to the process is a mentoring log. So you need to be logging every hour, I do mine in 15-minute increments where I log all my time and who was it that I was meeting with. And then I have some trigger word sort of processes that I use so that I just type in the trigger words. And then when I'm reviewing it, it's those words they bring back the memory of what we talked about the last time, so that I'm in a place where we can keep moving forward with that. So you have the log, which is critical. And then there are a number of documents that need to be pulled together, which are basically the gathering of all of your lived experience as a mentor. And then the last step that you go through is what we call a verification interview. So you appear before a panel of verifiers, subject matter experts, practitioners, mentoring practitioners, and you're required to be able to verify that you actually have the experience, so that you've taken, the idea is that you have taken the processes, the concept, the knowledge of the mentoring processes, and you've been able to apply those in a practical sense. And the verification panel, and in my case, when I went through it twice, the last time there was 5 five individuals on the panel, and the interview went for just over 2 hours. I had to be able to demonstrate that I was able to show that I had actually put into practice all the various fundamentals that they were looking for.
What are some of the mentoring certifications that are available?
You know, to be honest, the only one that I'm aware of is the one that we offer. And that's, so there's a certificate of recognition, certificate of achievement, certificate of competence mentor, and then certificate of competence journey mentor. Those are the ones that we, through the international mentoring community, that's who provides those.
Is there a difference between being a mentor and being a journey mentor?
The journey mentor was created in order to be a mentor of mentors, so to be able to guide people through the certification process, so that your journey through that doesn't become too onerous. The other part was that with the certificate of competence journey mentor, part of that also was created with the idea in mind of mentors being part of the support structure for mental health.
I have to ask this. I know that you have worked with with various entities in the United States and Canada. But in your opinion, what is the state of mental health?
It's not very good. There's a huge gap as far as being able to, number one, to meet the timelines that people that are struggling or suffering from mental health challenges, that there's a huge gap of being able to provide them the healing that they need. And that's why in the research that I've done, and that's why we created the journey mentor function, was that I saw that this was a place where mentoring could be inserted in there to be able to be that sort of that stopgap between when I see my psychologist. So I go and I see my psychologist, and because the workload is so heavy for them, it's going to be 4 months before I get back to see them. I've got no one I can turn to, and that's where I see the function or the role of a journey mentor. That's where I see that person playing a role as a part of the support structure. And it doesn't mean that I diagnose, because I don't. It doesn't mean that I prescribe, because I don't. But what it means is that I listen and hear what they have to say, and I do that in a non-judgmental, supportive way, and hopefully we can do that with the idea in mind of getting us to the next appointment with a professional resource to be able to provide their services.
In your experience, what is the difference between being a counselor, being a psychiatrist, being a mentor?
Being a counselor is somebody that's gone through formal training, and typically most counselors that I know that I work with have gone through and have gotten certifications in various counseling programs. So you said counselor and then psychologist, correct?
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. So it's same thing with a psychiatrist, is they've gone through, and typically most psychiatrists, in fact, I think all, have gone through a doctorate program. So they would be a doctor in psychiatry, and they would be able to be able to prescribe. And I get them confused from time to time, where one is able to prescribe medication and one can't prescribe medication. So in any event, they are people that have gone through and like I said, have achieved a higher level of education than what say the than what I would have, for example. And then you can throw in there the social worker, no disrespect intended. The social worker is yet one more individual that can provide various counseling services. I've gone through personally myself, gone through some different ones that were provided to me by a counselor, but that individual was also had a bachelor's degree in social work as well.
Um, y'all might not have these in Canada, but in the United States, we have, what is called a certified counseling practitioner.
Yeah, we would have something similar to that because you know, a counseling practitioner, we have I know of a couple people just off the top of my head that have been certified in different modalities from a counseling perspective. Um, and then they determine where each one of those modalities in which particular situation they're going to apply that.
Oh, fantastic. In 2000, 19, I went to school and I ended up being a certified counseling practitioner. But I do most of my work involves peer support services.
Yeah.
Um, because I have served in the military, and of course, when I came out, I was diagnosed with PTSD and bipolar depression, and so I feel that the the best people that will be able to help others with mental illness is someone that is going through recovery. I think that they'll be able to relate more if you're talking to someone that's actually going through something similar to what you're going through.
Yeah.
And so in the 25 years that you served in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, have any of the time and experience that you spend there have contributed to what you do now?
It, what it's done for me, I think number one is credibility. So just exactly what you had said is I've been there and still am dealing with a lot of uh, of the issues around that, because back then, when I go back to when I first went into the police force and then over the 25 years, they didn't mental health was not something we talked about, quite honestly, and there was no support structure. The organization did not have a support structure in place to help anyone who was struggling or dealing with, post-traumatic stress, for example. There was just no support whatsoever. And we're better, but we're not where we need to be. There are support mechanisms in place, but there's still a stigmatism about mental health that is to some extent preventing people from reaching out. As I tell people, it's okay to open the door to the closet that you're in and reach and extend your hand and say, I need help. And on the other side of that door, there will be people that will be able to provide you that help that you need. But you have to, you need to be able to open that door and reach out and ask for help.
Right, I definitely agree with you that there's still that negative stigma that's attached to mental health, and that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people, are not asking for help because they feel that they're going to be judged, they feel that they're going to be laughed at, they're going to be ridiculed and talked about, oh, you crazy, blah, 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 or they'll say, get over it, toughen up, or whatever the popular phrases, that they, say today. uh, definitely agree with you, on that. So with all the mental health services, I mean, solutions that have been, created, or programs that have been created over the years, is that enough?
It's a start. It's a start. There's so much more that we need to do. And so I've done quite a bit of reading, quite a bit of research, and experienced it firsthand where the aspect of grief as a contributing factor to your individual mental health state. So individuals that have gone through having lost a spouse, a child, parents, mother, father, all of those things. What I've seen now, and I'm involved in some peer-to-peer support groups as a recipient of the services that are being provided in those peer-to-peer settings. And now actually I'm helping co-facilitate some of those peer-to-peer groups, but is to be able to help people understand that grief can, in fact, contribute to the state of your mental health. And we need to be able to figure out ways to be able to manage our grief versus having our grief manage us.
Um, I'm going to throw some terms at you, and you can tell me what the difference is. For example, human resources, employee plans versus effective mentoring.
So the employee plan part would be, my understanding would be an organization has we'll call it supports in place, but as part of the employee plan is that they would facilitate providing them funding to be able to go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, a social worker, counselor, and so on, like that. The mentoring part is happening more on an individual or one-to-one basis, where individuals will, for in my case anyhow, individuals reach out to me and say, I think I need to have some time with you, and I have some things we need to talk our way through. So that would be the difference for the two there.
Do you find that your organizations that you're involved in are open to bringing this effective mentoring?
It is, the organizations that I'm talking to are definitely open to that. Um, Especially when it's somebody from outside the organization, because there's still somewhat of that confidentiality part that, you know, I'd love to, and I've had people say that even today, that I would love to be able to reach out and get help, but I don't want the rest of my coworkers to know that I'm reaching out to somebody. And so for me, what that means is that there's still the stigmatism. And so every chance I get to tell my story, I'm hoping that people that are listening, when I do tell that story, that they see themselves in what it is that I'm going through, and that it's okay to be able to say, I need the help, and to be able to get yourself to a place where you're a lot more open and a lot more comfortable in talking about it, because it is, every time I tell my story, it's very, very therapeutic for me. It helps me with my healing journey.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. I know that, I don't know how true this is, but, sometimes like when we tell our stories, it kind of becomes a trigger to us, but then after you tell your story more than once, or frequently, it becomes therapeutic. Is there some truth in that, or that varies from person to person?
I think it would vary from person to person, but I know that I have found that it, excuse me, um, it helps reduce the what's the word I would be looking for? The strength of the actual trigger itself would be diminished or lessened by the number of times I've shared my story. If I allow myself, and this is comes back to managing versus having it manage you, but if I allow myself to uh, be more open and receptive to how I'm feeling because I'm telling the story again, um, then there are, I end up then having to deal with that.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, we want to point out that Doug Lawrence is also a published author as well. And I think you have two books that are out. One of
Yes.
it's called The Gift of Mentoring, and the other one is Supporting Mental Health with Mentoring. Um, real you, what are these two books? Where they so what are these two books? What are they about?
So the gift of mentoring, it was my very first book that I wrote and then published. And it is basically mentoring 101. So it gives you some insight into mentoring processes and concepts. There's a few case studies and stuff in there that help you get a better understanding of the mentoring process and that. And it was written because I'd been writing a lot of blog articles, and some of my colleagues had said, you need to, with all the material that you're putting out there, through your blog, you should pull all that stuff together and make it into a book. And that's what I did. So it's out there as kind of the first step into mentoring for a lot of people that read the book. The second book came kind of, much the same sort of thing, where some of the folks some of my colleagues, my inner circle, and that said, you know, all the work that you're doing stuff with, people who are struggling with mental health. You need to write a book about that. And so I did a bunch of research, and I found, as a result of the research, that there was definitely a place for mentoring as part of the mental health story. And so the book is entitled You Are Not Alone. And it was published in this year in 2020, or is no, it was published this year in January. And it it made the Amazon #1 bestseller list.
Oh, fantastic. Is there a relationship between mental health and mentoring?
Well, there is, from a support perspective, there definitely is a relationship there, because like I've said, is I do strongly believe that there is a place in the whole mental health story and the mental health support structure for mentoring. And the more that I do, the more I practice in that area, the more I talk to people, the more it just helps validate, or yeah, validate is the best word, validate that idea or that thought is actually very valid. In fact, that there is a place for mentoring in the mental health support structure.
So a lot of your work, you deal with like different corporations, employees of corporations.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, and I understand that. I could imagine that they're going through, all sorts of things, relating to, mental health, anxiety and stress. I can imagine, that's one, because they're thinking about their careers, they want to advance their careers, or, maybe there's too much pressure being, you know, pushed upon them to, have this certain level of productivity, things of that nature. You also have, case to where you may have someone that, is struggling, at their job, or uh, they're not sure what career they want to get into, or what, direction, they want to get into. Those are some of the things that run across, or are there others?
Yeah, I definitely have run across those. And another one that is should be fairly familiar to a lot of your listeners is the aspect of bullying. And especially I know for myself, I went through a couple different situations of bullying in the workforce, and how that had actually impacted my mental health, and especially at a time when, when I was dealing with my the trauma that I went through from being a police officer, and now I'm in the corporate world, and I'm seeing that there's trauma there too from the aspect of bullying. It's maybe somewhat different than what I experienced as a police officer, but it was still creating a impact on my mental health capacity.
Um, would you say that you have, people that let hold you accountable? Or do you have any accountability partners that, that keep pushing you to be your very best?
You know, to so I mentor lots of people, and I also have mentors that I turn to, and I my expectation of my mentors is that they hold me accountable for what it is that I need to get done. And so the answer to your question is, yes, I do have an accountability partners, and each one holds me accountable for different aspects of my life, work and personal.
All right. I think we will get ready to close here. Certainly want to thank you for coming on, and, opening up, to the audience here. If someone was to if someone wants to, get into mentorship, how does that work?
They can reach out to me. Certainly, they can get a hold of me, and I can guide them from that point onwards.
The books that you have written, where are people able to purchase your book?
So the books are available on Amazon.com, and you can get both of them through Amazon. Yeah, that's the best place to go to get access to both books, actually.
And how can someone reach you personally if they are in need of a mentor?
So if they have questions about what we talked about today, they can reach out to me through my website at www.talentc, so the word talent, letter C on the end, .ca, or they can reach out to me through, and actually, sorry, I'll back up. And once you get on the website, there's a contact button. So click on that and fill in your message and send it off to me. And I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. The other place that you can find me is on LinkedIn, and just search on Doug Lawrence, and I'm fairly active, so it should direct you to my profile. And from there, you can reach out to me that way as well. And then the other way, which I always put out there, that I have no problem whatsoever if people want to send an email message to me direct. You don't want to go through the website. You don't want to do LinkedIn. You just want to send an email. It's Doug dot Lawrence, so LAWRENCE at TalentC, so the word talent, letter C on the end, .ca. So Doug.Lawrence at talentc.ca, and I'll reply back to your message as quickly as I can.
As we do with all of our guests, we would like for you to leave some last words for the audience. What do you want to say to the audience? And it could be absolutely anything. What would you like to say to the audience in your last words?
My last words for today would be that it's okay to reach out and ask for help, and open that closet door, stick your hand out, and say, I need help, and we'll be there.
Very great words of wisdom here. Um, Doug, I want to thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this podcast. Um, and congratulations on being the #1 bestseller on Amazon. I wish you the best in all of your endeavors. And I talk a lot about self-care. We do a lot, so self-care is important. And my friends and colleagues have been getting on me about this for the longest. You need to take a vacation. You need to take some time out for yourself, or you're gonna go crazy. Okay, so I took their advice, decided to take a couple of days off. But I knew that I had these podcasts to do, this weekend. So I would stay committed to that. But other than that, I'm taking my friend's advice and kind of do the self-care thing. It's so much important, as I think too, that also affects your mental health. Kind of give you that mental and physical strength you need to get back out there, and do what you do. So I think that's very important. Just wanted to throw that out there. Doug, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for
Uh,
having me.
we are, we got this transition that we're going through, but we will continue to be as consistent as we possibly can. Nothing is perfect, but we will continue to push forward and learn from our mistakes, and keep on going. Because again, because if you don't, that too will also affect your mental health. So if anything else, uh, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so that you'll be able to continue to do what you do. And for that, we're going to close out here. Um, I'm Keith Williams, your host for the Works. Thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast. Tune in tomorrow for another exciting episode of the Works. And we have a great guest for you on tomorrow. So we hope that you would tune in. So until then, have a great day.